The ancient culture of the Guarani people, which spans Paraguay, Brazil, Argentina, and Bolivia, is as strong today as it was many centuries ago, sustained through an oral tradition of passing down myths and legends from one generation to the next. These tales include the Guarani creation story and the legend of the 7 cursed brothers who were transformed into terrifying beasts. In this video, we are going to know his story. Tupa is the supreme god of the Guarani creation myth. According to his mythology, Tupa came from the sun, and with the help of the moon goddess, Arasi, he descended to a hill in Aregua, Paraguay, where he stood and created the universe and all humanity. In addition, he created Tau, the spirit of evil, and Anga Tupari, the spirit of good. The original humans created by Tupa were Rupave and Sipava. They had many children, including Marangatu, a benevolent and generous leader to his people, who in turn fathered a beautiful daughter named Kerana. Kerana attracted the attention of Tau, the spirit of evil, who decided that he should have her for himself. Number 1. Tau and Kerana. Tau was an evil spirit who had fallen in love with a maiden named Kerana, a young woman of great beauty who spent her days sleeping. For this reason, they named her Kerana, which means sleepyhead, and she was the nicest of the whole tribe. Tau fell in love with the young woman, and to conquer her, he transformed himself into a handsome young man. With the new appearance, Tau visited Kerana for 7 consecutive days. On the last day, he tries to kidnap the young woman, for which Anga Tupari, spirit of good, is forced to intervene to prevent him. For this, he engages in a fight with Tau that lasts 7 days. Finally, Tau, using tricks, defeats Anga Tupari. Tau took Kerana. This caused deep sadness and indignation in the tribe, so it was decided to give an exemplary punishment for the transgressor. Anga Tupari takes action on the subject and makes Tau the object of a terrible curse. The fruit of the union of Tau and Kerana were 7 cursed children who were born as monsters. Each of the 7 was revered or feared, each possessing different skills and traits, fundamental to the Guarani tradition. Number 2. Teju Jagua. Despite being considered the most hideous in appearance, his ferocity was tempered by Tupa's choice. He remained calm and harmless, but was still feared by his fiery gaze. He eats fruit, and his brother Jasy fed him honey, his favorite food. He is considered the lord of the caves and protector of the fruit. He is also mentioned as a brilliant protector of buried treasure. Due to the curse Arasi placed on Tau for taking Kerana, Tau's descendants were forever doomed to a misshapen and monstrous appearance. Thus, the couple's first child was a huge lizard with 7 dog heads and fire-breathing eyes. His appearance was the most horrible of the 7 brothers. The 7 dog heads on him hinder any movement. Some versions of the story say that Teju Jagua has only a giant dog head, but all versions agree that he has a limited ability to move. His skin turned shiny after rolling in the gold and precious stones of Itape. Number 3. Mbói Tu'i. He is the second son of Tau and Kerana. He has a malevolent look that scares anyone unlucky enough to run into him. This creature is part snake and part parrot. It has the shape of a huge snake with a huge parrot head and a huge beak. He also has a red, forked tongue the color of blood. His skin is scaly and striped. His feathers cover his head. He patrols the swamps and protects amphibian life. He likes humidity and flowers. He emits an incredibly powerful and terrifying squawk that is heard from far away and strikes terror in all who hear it. He is considered the protector of aquatic animals and wetlands. And you can become our protector. Subscribe, activate notifications, and above all, comment. What is your favorite creature, myths, and legends of your region? Or what other gods and mythologies would you like to have on the channel? And now we can continue. The number 4 on this list in order of birth would be Monai, but we will leave it for later. Then you will understand why. Number 5. Jasy Jatere. Jasy Jatere, which literally means little piece of the moon, is the name of an important character in Guarani mythology. One of the 7 cursed children of Tau and Kerana, Jasy Jatere is one of the most important gods among the Guarani-speaking cultures of South America, especially Paraguay. His domain is to nap, hidden treasures, and yerba mate. Jasy Jatere is also considered the lord of the siesta, the traditional midday nap taken in many Latin American cultures. According to a widespread version of the myth, Jasy Jatere leaves the forest and wanders the villages in search of children who are not napping. Although generally invisible, it is said that he is shown to children he does not find napping, and that anyone who looks at his cane falls into a trance. He can even lure them into the forest with a distinctive whistle. What happens to these children in trance differs depending on which version of the story is told. Many Guarani myths have multiple versions because no written version of the language existed, and all myths have survived only as word-of-mouth accounts. In the most beautiful version of the tale, Jasy is considered a friend to those disobedient children. She takes them to hidden places in the forest to play and feeds them with honey and fruits. At the end of the nap, when everyone is tired from the play, Jasy gives them a magical kiss that transports them back to their beds with no recollection of the experience. Most versions of the story are less than fair. Commonly, Jasy leads entranced children into a cave where he gouges out their eyes and imprisons them for an untold amount of time, feeding them wild fruits and berries until they run wild as animals. Even more gruesome tales say that the children are returned to their brother Ao, a cannibalistic creature that feeds on their flesh. Jasy power is said to come from the magical staff he carries, and if one is able to remove it, he breaks down and cries like a small child. In this state, one can ask him for the treasures he is guarding in exchange for the staff, as a captured goblin must reward his captor with a pot of gold. 6. Kurupi. He is one of the central legendary figures in the region of Guarani-speaking cultures. He is also one of the few figures still prominent in the region's modern culture. Kurupi is said to be somewhat similar in appearance to another, more popular figure in Guarani mythology, the Pombero. Like the Pombero, Kurupi is said to be short, ugly, and hairy. He makes his home in the wild forest of the region, and was considered the lord of the forest and protector of wild animals. Kurupi's most distinctive feature was a huge penis that would normally wrap several times around his waist, like a belt. Due to this characteristic, he was once revered by the Guarani as the spirit of fertility. Like the Pombero, Kurupi is often blamed for unexpected or unwanted pregnancies. It is said that his penis is prehensile. That it can grasp or hold, and due to its length, it is supposed that it can extend it through doors, windows, or other openings in a house and impregnate a sleeping woman without even having to enter a house. Along with the Pombero, Kurupi was a scapegoat used by adulterous women to avoid the wrath of their husbands, or by single women to explain their pregnancies. Children sired by Kurupi were expected to be small, ugly, and hairy like his father, and if they were male, they would inherit some of their father's virility. He had a huge. In some cases, Kurupi is blamed for the disappearance of young women, allegedly taking them to his home in the forest to quench his desires. Number 7. Ao. The Ao is often described as a ravenous sheep or boar-like creature with a huge set of tusks. Alternatively, it is also described as a large carnivorous peccary. The original Ao is said to have profound reproductive powers and is therefore sometimes identified as the Guarani spirit of fertility. Is believed to have people as its only source of food. Although the creature's description is clearly not human, it is at least half human from birth, which explains its cannibalism. According to most versions of the myth, upon locating a victim for its next meal, will pursue the unfortunate person at any distance and over any terrain, not stopping until it has eaten. If a person tries to escape by climbing a tree, for example, the Ao will surround the tree, howling incessantly and digging into the roots until the tree falls over. In fact, according to myth, the only way to successfully escape an Ao is to seek refuge by climbing a palm tree. The tree contains some unknown power against the Ao, and if its victim climbed into one, the creature would howl in defeat and go off in search of other food. Number 8. Luison. Luiso, or Lobason is the name of a monstrous creature from Guarani mythology. Luison's name is a variation of Lobazan, a name used in Argentina and Uruguay to describe the werewolf or a similar creature, which is in turn a variation of the Brazilian name for the werewolf, lobisomem, more literally, wolfman. What name Luison may have had before the influence of European mythology has probably been lost to the world. Guarani was not a written language, and all myths were passed down through storytelling only, so no written record of his original name would have been left. Luison was said to be the lord of the night and was associated with death. Their habitat was confined exclusively to graveyards or other places similarly related to the concept of death, and their only food source was dead, rotting meat. If Louison passes through a person's legs, the person is said to become Louison. In some versions, Louison only appears on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights. Louison also served the same function as the Grim Reaper in many European societies, and the touch of his cold, sweaty hand was said to be a sure sign that one's days on Earth were numbered. In the original version of the myth, Louison was the seventh and last child of Tau and Kerana, and thus the most cursed of the group. He had a vaguely human appearance, but was said to be extremely ugly, even hideous-looking. Louison had long, dirty hair that fell down covering most of his body, pale, sickly skin and eyes, and accompanied by the constant fetid smell of death and decay. His appearance was so terrifying and repulsive that the mere presence of him would strike terror into any unfortunate enough to encounter the beast. As I mentioned before, I leave Mbói for the last one on the list, since with him the cycle closes and this story ends. Number 4. Mbói. Mbói is the third son of Tau and Kerana. This creature has a huge snake-like body with two straight, colorful horns on its head, which serve as antennae. His domains are open fields. He can climb trees with ease and glide down to hunt the birds that he feeds on and dominates with the hypnotic power of his antennae. Mbói likes to steal and hide the products of his misdeeds in a cave. The continuous robberies and raids of him in the towns cause great discord among the people who accuse each other of the thefts and mysterious disappearances of his belongings. The people of the town came together to put an end to the misdeeds of Mbói and his brothers. The beautiful Porisi offered herself to carry out this mission. She convinced Mbói that she had fallen in love with him and that before celebrating her wedding, she wanted to meet her brothers. Mbói left her in the care of Teju Jagua and went in search of the rest of her brothers. When she finally brought them all, the wedding rituals began. The brothers freely exchanged drinks and quickly became completely drunk. It was at that moment that Porisi tried to escape from the cave that was closed by a large stone. Mbói prevented her from getting out of it and threw her back into the cave. Porisi yelled to alarm the people waiting outside. Knowing that she was lost, she ordered the people to burn the cave, even with her inside it. While this killed Porisi herself, it also successfully destroyed the cursed descendants of Tau and Kerana, including Mbói himself. In exchange for Porisi's sacrifice, the gods lifted up her soul and transformed it into a small but intense point of light. Since then, the gods destined the spirit of Porisi to illuminate the dawn. And with this, we end the story of Tau and Kerana and their cursed children. I hope to see you in next week's video.